We're feeling real cozy today. We had our first frost. The trees are sort of changing colors. I have a fire. I have a candle and a nice hot cup of tea. Though honestly, I'm kind of wishing it was hot cocoa. I don't crave hot cocoa too often, but I think the cold coziness of today is making me want it. The only thing that can make this day even better as far as atmosphere and weather goes is if it was windy. I love watching the wind. Anyhow, hello and welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Sarah. I'm the person here at Denim and Rain. You can find all the links to all the things down below. You know, my website, my Instagram, my Ko-Fi, in case you want to buy me a cup of tea, because I don't drink coffee. Let's dive into all the projects. I finished some things. Some stuff you've seen over and over and over again. And then some things you've never seen before. So yeah, feel a little bit like a really slow knitting machine. Like really slow knitting machine. But after like looking at my pile, I was like, oh, look at all these things I finished. Let's go ahead and start with this guy though. Ta-da! My cardigan is finished. Here it is. I put these resin buttons on that I've made. They're like tortoise shell looking ones. They're super cute. I really like them. I'm hoping to make some for an online restock at some point in the month of November. But yeah, let's, I guess, dive into it a little bit. Thoughts, feelings, what I think of the whole thing, and how the process went for me. So if you haven't watched any of my other videos, I will kind of recap a little bit about this cardigan. I didn't really follow a pattern. I followed the math of the Petite Knits champagne cardigan. But I used a double basket weave texture. It's this really fabulous garter stitch pattern with a bunch of, you know, little strips of stockinette. And then I did stockinette band that went all the way down the arm and under the arm, on the arm and under the arm. And then I did all double knit bands, no ribbing anywhere. So I did the double knit collar, button band, a double knit hem, and double knit sleeves, which I love so much. The yarn I used was gifted yarn from We Are Knitters, the Meri fine wool. I've mentioned it several times before. I was gifted this yarn to knit one of their kits. However, the kit I picked out was a color work pattern and I only received one color. And when I contacted them about the second color, I never heard anything back. So I was kind of like, okay, well, let's just knit something I would really like and enjoy out of this. And I'm kind of happy the other color never showed up because I really like this. This yarn is 100% non-superwash wool. And before blocking, wasn't a huge fan, to be honest. It wasn't particularly soft in any way. It wasn't like itchy or particularly super rustic, but it wasn't soft. But after blocking, it is now nice and soft. Not as soft as like a superwash merino, but it is very nice. Some of the things I did for this that I really like are the double knit bands. One thing I did for the collar here, or button band, was once I hit this point, I made a couple of increases to make the neckband back here wider, and it fits so nicely. And then just when I got around to the other side, once I hit those points, I made some decreases. So I really like how it then makes it kind of skinny to wider, and it fits really nicely against my neck. I'm feeling a little bit winded for some reason. I just feel like out of breath talking. It's kind of annoying. So when I finished, I had about 2 balls left about this size. This one is a little bit more. The other one has like maybe half this amount. So I was very pleased with myself, thinking, wow, my yarn management was great. I have like no scraps. Then I was cleaning and found a project bag that had 2 whole balls in it. So yeah, I have a lot more left over than I thought. So I have a whole 100 grams left. So I'm thinking hat. Wasn't thinking of making a hat in this yarn, but now that I have this yarn hanging out, I think I might actually make my mama hat out of this. She was just commenting that her hair is falling out again, and so of course we're coming into nice cold weather season, so I figured, you know what, she was like, you don't need to make me more hats. I was like, Mom, I like knitting hats because it's like my travel knitting and it keeps my hands busy when I'm sitting still in all these different places. So yeah, and I feel like a hat knit out of this would probably work up really quickly. So yeah, there's leftover yarn of that. Overall, I'm very, very, very happy with this cardigan. It turned out really nice. I've worn it lots of different times, styled different ways, both open and buttoned, tucked in, you name it. So this is affectionately known as my champagne basket cardigan. I'd give it a 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10, teetering in there. All right, the next finish item I have is my match cardigan, which is gonna be kind of hard to show. Ta-da, here it is. This is a pattern by Caidree. I was in the test knit group for this pattern. It is a bulky weight raglan cardigan. I did omit the pockets. It does have applied pockets on the front, but I made mine a bit more cropped, which I don't normally make a cropped anything ever, but I made this one a bit more cropped, and when I measured out where the pockets would go, it just felt like it was gonna be a little high, like touch like up a little bit, kind of like in here, and I was like, I kind of don't want a pocket up near my boob. So I omitted the pockets. If I were to knit it again, I would probably make it a little bit longer, if not a lot longer, and add pockets. I feel like this pattern would translate really well, being as it's a bulky yarn, to being a really long cardigan. Like, it would be extra cozy, and I kind of want to do that because yeah, I mean, who doesn't want a really comfy, cozy, like robe-like cardigan? So the pattern was really easy to follow. By the time I was able to get going on it, most of the things for my size were like worked out, which by the way, I knit size 1, and I use the yarn Lion brand Hue and Me colorway fatigues, I think is how you say it. And I have more of my resin buttons on there. They're kind of like a brownish color. This yarn is like a brownish green. It is not originally what I was looking for, but I do really like it, and it does fit into my wardrobe fairly well. Now, we come to the part that annoys me. A couple of things. First, I knit the sleeves a little too short. Yeah, trying it on, I have this tendency to, like, when I try things on, I'm like doing this to like see how long it is, but then it's pulling down on my shoulder, and then, you know, then when you actually put it on and you have it up on your shoulder, it becomes too short. That of course is 100% my fault. I of course did not use all of the yarn. I think I have like a small ball of 2 balls left, and then I have a whole entire like ball left. So I'm just gonna use those 2 little small bits that I have left to just rip back these and just knit a little bit more stockinette and then do the ribbing again. I'm not gonna do that anytime soon just because I'm fine with it at the moment. We're still kind of in fall, so I've actually worn it with the sleeve rolled up, and I like the look of that, so I'm just gonna keep wearing it like that for now. And then once we get a little bit colder weather, I'll probably rip back the cuff, knit the sleeve. That's what I say. We'll see if that actually happens. But I have the yarn for when I get to that point. The other thing is, if I were to knit this pattern again, I would not use this yarn. To me, I feel like the Hue and Me is like, it is bulky, but I feel like it's kind of bordering on super bulky. Maybe that's just me, but that's how I felt while I was knitting with it. I got gauge for this pattern, but I just felt like it was super dense. Like, this fabric is, I feel like, really dense and doesn't have a lot of give, especially on the sleeves. I knew the sleeves were going to be like that because, you know, knitting in a tighter circumference, especially look at where my magic loop was. You can see I was get afraid of laddering, so I pull way too tight. Oops. So yeah, but if I were to knit it again, I would knit it in a lighter weight yarn just so the fabric was a little bit less stiff and was a little bit more relaxed like this one. I don't want it like super loose, but I want it looser than this. But overall, I'm very happy with this cardigan. I will knit another one in the future, not anytime soon, but I will make this again. Okay, my next finished item is something I've technically been mostly done with for months and months and months now. You may recall I had started to knit a hat for my niece. It was gonna be for her baby shower, but then I was like running behind and I didn't finish. And then it was kind of like, well, then I can just wait and see what size she's gonna be. That way, you know, I end up with a hat that's gonna fit her. So I was making her a little foxier hat, but her mom wanted it to be in pink. So I finally put the ears on it. Ta-da! How cute is that? So this is no particular pattern at all. I just kind of made it up. I knit the hat but crocheted the ears. I use Lion Brand Heartland for the pink. I don't remember what color because I don't have the ball band anymore because, you know, it's been hanging out for a really long time. I don't know where it went. So yeah, it's a Lion Brand Heartland, and the little bits in the ear are leftover yarn, the loops and threads, Cozy Wool Tweed in the cinnamon color. So that is finally finished, so I will be able to gift that to her just in time, you know, for the cold weather. Sticking with the hat theme, I finished a hat for Benjamin. I finished this in basically a day. I cast this on before a conference that we went to, and then when we got home I changed to magic loop, and then the next morning just really quickly wrapped up the decreases. So this is also Lion Brand Heartland, and I don't know what color, it's a dark gray. And this is using the 2x2 rib hat by Anne Ganon. It is a free pattern over on Ravelry. I think though for this one, I only cast on 80 stitches. I think the pattern calls for like 112 stitches. Again, it's a free pattern, so I can share this information. But I did 80 because when I did the 112, it was way too big. Now this does look itty bitty when it's not stretched out, but it fits his head perfectly. Now it doesn't have a ton of space to grow. I probably should have cast on like another 8 stitches and had like 88 stitch count, and then gone just a little bit taller, but it's fine. It fits him now, and you know, in a couple of years I can knit him another, and that's fine. I did also not do as many decrease rounds. I stopped partway through doing the decreases, bound off, and had like, you know, a larger hole, and then just cinched that in. So you can see there are decreases, but there aren't as many. So yeah, I think it turned out okay. I don't have pointy hat. No pointy hat happening here. Yeah, and I think it looks really, really good on him. So I'm very pleased with it. The last video, I chatted about some socks that I wanted to cast on. I wanted to cast on the Hawkins socks by yours truly, and the Botanical yarn flock colorway that I picked up while I was vending at Flock. And then also I had Fangirl fiber and Coats & Co yarn to use for my other colors while I finish them. Ta-da! We have 2 socks! Oh my goodness, I'm in love. So, this is the Fangirl fiber yarn. This is the Coats & Co. Both of these were mini hanks that had no colorway names on them. so I cannot give you that information because I do not know that information. And then the main color is that Botanical yarn colorway that was the Flock Fiber Festival exclusive. Just look at those colored speckles. They are so freaking good. And then look at the toes. I was gonna do just that goldish color, but then decided like I'd seen somebody, I don't know who, had done like a pop of color just on the very tip of the toe, and I loved it. So I did the last round and the Kitchener in that pink, and I think it turned out perfectly. Now, the only thing that I realized afterwards that I'm gonna have to go back and fix a little bit, do some stitching underneath on the back side, was I picked up through the wrong spot on the heel for the gusset, correction, for the gusset. So along one side of my gusset, when I put it on, there are like a row of little holes because I picked up through the wrong legs of the stitches on both socks. Because I knit them not two at a time on one needle, but two at a time on separate needles. So I would like knit through like one color and then another color, and then would like knit the other sock and then finish the leg, do the heel on one, do the heel on the other, and then the foot on one, foot on the other, you know, going back and forth, which was amazing. I love that method so much. I want to do it for all my socks moving forward, as long as I actually have two needles in the size that I happen to be working. But I'm gonna have to go back and I'm just gonna go inside the sock and just kind of like duplicate stitch a little bit just to add a little bit strength, and so there's no hole on one side of my socks. So that's annoying, but it's fixable. It's not the end of the world. I also did a teeny bit of color management. So I wound up 2 balls from this hank, and I started knitting one hank here, and it had a lot of speckles in it. So I was like, okay, well, this sock at the top was getting kind of like no speckles. So then I like switched balls partway through each to kind of like spread them out. This sock still has less speckles through the foot, which is okay. I'm not like super picky about that, but you can definitely tell there's one sock that is more speckly than the other. But the leg on this one is more speckly than the other one. So it's fine, I don't mind. I could have knit more length on them, which I kind of wish I had, but I wasn't sure how much yarn they were gonna take. So I didn't want to chance running out, but I have a total of, I think, 20 grams, 25 grams left of this yarn. So I plan to actually use this as cuffs and maybe toes of a pair of socks I plan to make for my daughter. That is it for finished items. Like I said, I feel like a really slow knitting machine. It's really cool. But let me show you what I've got in the works at the moment. We will start with the boring things. More hats. Yeah, more hats. I have quite a bit left of this pink Heartland color from knitting my niece that one little hat. So I decided to cast her on a second hat, but a 2x2 rib. So here we are. I just cast this on yesterday. I have this cute little stitch marker from Reshma of Hello Lavender on there. It's one of her affirmations markers. It says, I'm creative. So yeah, I cast this on yesterday. It's a 2x2. And nothing a whole lot to say about it. I'm hoping to maybe have it done soon rather than later so she can start wearing it because it is cold. I figured that one's kind of cute and kitschy, but this one is like, you know, more standard and can go with any of her outfits. And under like her coats because it doesn't have ears. So if she like needs to wear a hood too or something like that. I mean, I don't know. I always bundle my kids a lot. So my kids are probably sweating, honestly, because I was always scared of them getting cold because I run cold. So the first hat I have in the works. I did want to mention the needles I'm using for that. Actually, let me pull back over here. Are some cheapo ones I bought from Amazon. I will try to remember to link them if I forget, just comment below. But they have a cord actually very similar to the ChiaoGoo ones. It's like a coated wire, and it has a nice bend in it, which I really, really like for the small circulars. They're 16-inch circular, and I got a set of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 needles for $13. I was looking at getting a couple more ChiaoGoo 16-inch, which is what I've been using for the hats, because I currently only have a 3mm, and I was like, well, maybe I could get some more sizes, so when I'm knitting with worsted weight yarn, or like a heavier DK or a lighter DK, like I could have a variety. Now, the problem with that is each one of those needles is like $11 plus. So I was like, that's gonna get expensive. Like, should I look into buying an interchangeable set? And I was like, but that's really expensive, and I just don't have that in my budget right now. I just really want like one set. I'll just buy one needle and like a 4 or 5mm, and we'll just kind of go from there. But then I found these, and it had the 4mm, which is what I'm using here. It has a 2mm, a 3mm, a 5, and a 6. Yeah. So now I have all these fabulous circular needles, and they seem to be working really good. These size 4, compared to the other ones, I feel like has a blunter tip. It's like has the same size of tip as the 5 does, but then like the other smaller sizes seem to be smaller. So I feel like this set only could have a slightly pointier tip, but honestly, I don't mind that much. It doesn't need to be like, I'm not looking for something super sharp. I don't need a super sharp needle, but for what I'm doing for hats that are always going to be stockinette or ribbed, I think it is absolutely perfect. So I'm very happy with this purchase. Since we're talking about hats, I'll just show you the next hat I'm working on. This hat is for my son Lincoln. I am knitting, again, the 2x2 hat. I am using Knit Picks Stroll Tweed that I got from a D-stash. And I am holding that double with Hoobbii's Alpaca Blaze black color that I have like left over from something, I don't remember what. This one is called Prussian Heather, and with the black, it's like such a deep navy. It looks really good. He had picked out a different alpaca color that was just not quite working with it. So I made an executive call and changed it. He does not care. He is 3. And when I showed him his hat, he's just like so excited, and he keeps asking me every day if I'm done with the hat. And I'm like, man, I'm knitting on 3mm needles. Give me a hot minute. It is fingering held with the alpaca, which is kind of making a DK, but it just, this is taking way longer than this one. This I knit in like, a very short amount of time. This, yeah, in like an hour of knitting. Well, maybe not an hour, maybe like a half an hour of knitting, because I kept stopping and talking. I knit from deer to deer. This is my travel knitting at the moment, so when I go places, do things, I have this guy to work on. So I'm about with the fold over to here. So I have a ways to go still, basing it off of my other son's hat. So yeah, it's fine. I'm not in an enormous hurry, except for my toddler is, so I should probably get on it. The next project I have, I was hoping to have had done by now, but it's kind of just been set aside for a minute. Not really on purpose, it just did get set aside, and it's all tangled. I'm trying to untangle it. I tried it on last night, and when I took it off, I pulled it off over my head and it flipped inside out. But I am still working on my Tonight Top by Lily Kate France, knit out of my own hand-dyed yarn that I dyed quite a while ago. It is a superwash and nylon merino yarn fingering, your typical base. Now, I had picked up and knit the neck already. However, yeah, I picked up all the stitches and then knit the ribbing, it was too small. It wouldn't fit over my head. Not even a little bit over my head. So ripped it out, and it kind of went into a little bit of a timeout. So instead of doing the neck, I decided to pick up the armholes, and I did decide instead of doing the double knit because it was gonna come too high into my arm, because if you recall, I had said that I was doing less decreases so that it was more fitted. But then I also did less length because I have a short torso. Well, not thinking that because I did less decreases, I did less rows on top of doing less rows. So it fits me fine, but if I do a double knit, it's gonna just feel like it's hugging my arm a little too much. So instead of doing the double knit, I'm doing an I-cord, which is turning out very nicely. It is like, looks like it's rolling. I'm puckering because, yeah, I started to panic last night and I stopped knitting on it because I was like, it's like buckling and doing weird things. So I was like, stop. This fabric everywhere else is stretchy and this isn't, and yes, it seems kind of weird and wavy. I put it on, it's perfect. It, like, everything stretches out and that lays really nice and smooth on me. So I could have actually probably have had an armhole done last night, but because I started panicking over the fact that it was like looking a little wavy, I was like, I need to stop. I'm gonna have to rip it back and I'm gonna put it in timeout again. No, it's fine. It's going real good. So I'm gonna do the armholes and then I'm gonna pick up the neck. Because I like picked up all the stitches and did the ribbing and it still wasn't enough, I think I'm gonna have to pick up more than what stitches are around here. I'm just gonna have to pick up a couple extra places. It's already pretty snug over my head. I think I just did too tight of a cast on around my neck because I followed that part in the pattern. I mean, I did go down to the smallest size, but I have a small head. So it's not like I have a big giant noggin that, like, because I went down a size, like, it's not gonna fit over. No, I have a small head. I have a child size head. So this is already pretty snug. So we will see. I was kind of thinking, oh, I could do an I-cord, but that has no stretch. So I don't really want to do that. So we'll see. I want to get this finished though, because I would like to wear it. When I put it on last night, I was like, oh, this is so nice. So I just need to get the finishing finished. I just don't like the finishing parts. It's not my favorite. Right, I have one last thing that I am working on. If you watched my Knitting Dreams video that I published a week ago, 2 weeks ago, something like that, I shared a Christmas sweater. And that was one of the sweaters I wanted to cast on a little bit sooner, being as I wanted to have it done before December. So the pattern I was looking at wasn't really a pattern, it was more a vintage photo of a vintage pattern. I did have some people comment on there that it is a pattern actually, which is really awesome. There is, like, I guess if you look in the comments of that video, you'll see somebody like said what the pattern is actually called, which is actually really cool. However, though that's really cool that there is a pattern, that pattern looks like either set-in sleeves or like some type of drop shoulder. I'm not sure if that was actually a construction then. Usually they seamed everything then. So I'm not really sure like what the construction is of that one, but I know for sure I wanted a raglan. So of course I knew that one was not a raglan. I decided to just make it my own pattern, and then I just like kind of figured out the color work like motif for that, and I actually sketched it out right there. That's basically all I really needed to start work on it, was to know how many stitches I needed for the color work portion, and then, you know, I just cast on a raglan. So here it is. I have started work on it. I have just started the color work portion of it, and it's not a huge color work section. It's pretty small, and then it will transition into that burgundy color, and the rest of the body will be that burgundy color. And then I'll knit a few rounds on the sleeve, and then start the color work on the sleeves. The yarn I am using is Drops Lima. I am using this like natural color, and then I am also using this burgundy-ish color, which is showing way warmer on screen than it is in person. I actually over-dyed this a little bit because it arrived to me rather pinkish, and I don't like pink. So I over-dyed it a little bit to cool it down and like add a little bit more richness to it. I did have somebody's comment on my video about worrying about bleeding colors. I'm not too worried about it because I did over-dye this and I rinsed it a ton of times. Now, of course, there still is that chance it could bleed. So what I plan to do is not actually fully soak this for a block, because the last couple of times I like have done a steam block on a few things and it seems to be working okay. I don't have a steamer. I've just used the steam setting on my iron, which isn't as steamy as like a steamer, but it seems to have worked. Like I did that on my double knit band work on here and it bloomed and floofed very nicely. So I think I'm just gonna do that for this, and then I won't have to worry about the color bleeding. That's the hope. I'm not overly concerned about it because honestly, it's not like a sweater that I'm going to be wearing year round. It's just something I'll probably wear mainly in the month of December, maybe a little bit in November and a little bit in January. But it's not like it's going to get super dirty. At least I hope not. Who knows? So it's not like I'm going to need to like be soaking it and washing it a ton. Yeah, I'm not overly concerned about the colors bleeding. Who knows though, it could happen, and I may later be telling you a horror story. Let's hope not. But I forget how much I hate color work. I hate color work. I admire all of you who knit color work. I think it is beautiful, but I don't enjoy knitting it. I am way too freaked out about floats, and I'm literally stopping every few stitches to like check to make sure my floats are loose enough, because I am a tight knitter. I knit very tightly, so I'm constantly checking my floats, which seem to be going okay thus far. Every now and then I like kind of give them a stretch and just make sure we're looking okay, and so far we're doing all right. There's a couple of kind of tight spots, but you know, it's all right. There's also a couple of kind of loose spots, so whatever. As of right now, I'm happy with it. I'm looking forward to getting through this color work portion and getting on to the body and knitting more with this color. I really like this color. It's very pretty. I think having like just not white, because I knit like all of this in white, it's just a lot of white. That is it for the things I'm actively working on and have finished. I do have a little bit of yarn to show you. If you watched my dream knitting video though, you probably would have already seen it, so I'm just going to go through it really quickly. I'm not going to go super in detail, but I do have a little bit of yarn that has shown up since the last time I did project video. The most boring one first is this Drops Alpaca Silk in black. I already had some of this, but decided to buy some extra for a few other projects I have in the works. I got this Drops Paris, which is 100% cotton yarn in this beautiful caramel-y color, which I plan to make a camisole of some sort. Again, if you really want more information on this, go watch my other video that I did about all the things I want to make. The last yarn I got were two different colors of Drops Saffron. I got this really beautiful navy blue and this white, slightly off-white color. I got a sweater's quantity of each of these. I do also have some yarn coming for a sock test knit that I have coming up, which I'm really excited about. But other than that, I don't think I have anything else. I don't have any artwork to show. Oh my lord. I wait to make these videos until I have no children in the house, and then my husband makes more noise than the kids do. I shouldn't be annoyed that he's vacuuming. Just annoyed that he's vacuuming right this moment in time. That's it for today. I know it's probably kind of a long video. I had a lot to say, a lot of things to show, but thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Make sure you leave a comment, a like, a subscribe, and we will see you next time in my next video. Have a great day. Bye.